Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're watching from. This is the EV Café News, 30 minutes of what's happening in zero-emission transport with expert analysis from the EV Café crew. Today's opinions on a stick, well, you can see them there. We've got Paul at home. We've got Sam in a dodgy hotel room somewhere with a blurred background. We don't know why. And Sarah, where the heck are you?
Well, I had a fantastic day with Paul yesterday. We were at the DHL event in Silverstone, so I've come outside to see the track. And I missed breakfast for this, so whatever.
Show us the wings.
Show us.
All right, so turning around. I'm desperately hoping that something's going to come in a minute because I can hear lots of noise.
That is
super very happy to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Right, well, that's that. Grab a cuppa. I've got mine. Plug in to what's happening in clean transport this week. And coming up, Rosamond Adu Kissy Deborah settles her legal action in the case of Ella. The EU's fossil fuel subsidies for company cars reach an eye-watering 42 billion euros, whilst the UK leads the table with no subsidies for petrol and diesel cars. Two of our partners team up as Spiri are now working with Zaptec. EV demand is strong and growing, analysis reveals, and Stagecoach offer free travel to veterans this Remembrance weekend. But first, our partners, Stuart Signs, providers of road and rail livery signs and graphic media, have been super busy over the last couple of weeks unveiling their latest rail project, wrapping 3 Great Western Railway train cars to promote the latest Paddington Bear film.
Oh.
And did you know that they currently wrap 85% of national rail stock? I had no idea. Yeah, I know. They also have been working flat out on wrapping Amazon vans with the very latest Fallout graphics. The biggest news, though, is that Stuart Signs have a range of non-PVC wraps that can be 100% recycled. And Stuart's are really keen to support fleets. Paul, you've got more?
I have, but I'm really keen to see the Paddington picture. There he is. Look at that. We love
Brilliant.
Paddington. Woo! We were discussing before we came on about, is Paddington adult or child? And not as in,
you can imagine where that
who's
went.
The audience? Yeah, it was a slightly disastrous ending, not one that we can repeat. But anyway, I'm a great believer that Paddington Bear appeals to me as an older generation as much as it does to the younger generation. But anyway, Stuart Signs are doing a great job with kind of creating livery and putting livery on that is 100% recyclable, non-PVC. And I know that the guys at Stuart Signs are really keen to get out there and help fleets understand what they can and can't do, almost like in a consultancy sort of way. So I think it would be really great, any company that is doing anything livery-wise, have a chat with Stuart Signs first to just understand what the art of the possible is, and then maybe even use them to help you in your graphical challenges. But Stuart Signs.
The great thing is they'll come out and do a review free of charge of your current wrapping process. And they've identified particular panels on vehicles where if you put graphics, you're more likely to have to replace it when there's a ding or a bump. And they design the wraps so that for those high traffic areas, they're much cheaper to replace because they don't put the detail into those areas. Really quite clever stuff, all free of charge. Find out more at stuartsigns.co.uk. And whilst we're on about our partners, the AA won the Wellbeing Award at the FN50 on Wednesday. We're massively proud of our relationship with the AA, and we've seen their supportive approach firsthand. Congratulations, one and all.
Yeah, really well done.
Right. Oh, look at him with his toys.
Oh, so cute.
Loving that, Paul. Right, Rosamond Adu Kissy Deborah, whose daughter Ella had air pollution recognised as a factor in her death, has settled legal action against the UK government. 9-year-old Ella, who died following a fatal asthma attack in 2013, was the first person in the UK to have air pollution recognised by Southwark Coroner's Court as making a material contribution to her death. She lived 25 metres from the South Circular Road in Lewisham and was exposed to air pollution with levels above recommended guidelines, according to the coroner. Speaking yesterday following the undisclosed settlement, she told BBC London, "It's a David and Goliath situation. I was never going to win. You can't win because your child is already dead." But it was about the recognition, the justice, and I wanted them to do something. I'm going to say it again and again. Ella isn't the only one. The fact that in 2024, children continue to die from asthma is not acceptable. And interestingly, Rosamond went on to argue that the costs of the transition to electric can be more than offset by the public health savings made by the NHS. And that is something that we often forget because we think in silos, and transport is a silo in itself. These other areas of policy that are positively impacted are sometimes forgotten. And Paul, I know you've seen Rosamond speaking. She's a powerful, powerful woman.
A powerful woman, but so deeply grounded in the reality that, you know, this campaign is born out of the death of her child, you know, and that's what grounds it in reality. And she shares a story about in lockdown how for the first period of the first lockdown, when nothing was on the road, there were no deaths of children from asthma for that 3-month period. It's the only period of time of more than a month where the time has gone by and a child has not died of asthma. So she's absolutely right to intrinsically link these two things together.
Speaking of linking, I think that's the one thing, Sam, isn't it, that keeps us all focused, is that we'll share that desire for whatever reason. Some are much more personal than others, but we all share that commitment to a better tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. Ella's story is close to my heart because I used to present a lot of times in London about air pollution with my logistics company back in the day, and I would use her, sadly, as an example quite regularly. Moreover, I used to also live just off the same road. The South Circular and North Circular in London is a big loop, very long road if people don't know. So we didn't live close to each other, but I also brought my kids up just off the same road, about 50 meters away. And I moved. You know, we moved out of London because I didn't want to have my kids to grow up so close to that polluting road. So it had a material effect on me and my family as a result of wanting to move away from where that nasty pollution was. So I'm very grateful that I didn't have to suffer anything, not even an unimaginable amount of pain that poor Rosamond has been through. But at least it's showcasing the challenge in front of us and the fact that we need to do something about it, which is happening. You know, there is change happening, and that's promising.
And it does speak, Sarah, very much to the quality of life that we so desire and speak of relatively infrequently with transport, that actually it's a much, much, much wider subject matter than just 4 wheels on the road or 2 wheels on the road. This is about the quality of people's lives in everything that they do.
Yes, I think you highlighted a really good point there made by this story, that actually a lot of this can be offset by investment before the issue arises. And for 15 years, we were funded by an equivalent NHS budget because it made sense to help employers to commute in a different way where they're not breathing in fumes. It made sense to go to schools and provide them with training about where best to walk on their way rather than on the main road. There's better ways to walk. So small little interventions can have huge impacts. That's inner city Bristol, which now I'm pleased to say is much better thanks to the policy, legislation, teamwork, people building different streets in a different way to make things better for children. I saw this wonderful, not wonderful, little meme that said, well, I would let my kids walk to school, but it's all those cars, and it's a parent in a car driving their kids to school. You know, very, very irritating. And something I'd like to call out is Amy Carter and Liz Allen talk about this subject on the Full Circle podcast this week, and Amy puts it beautifully, which is that everybody everywhere should be entitled to at least clean air. And I made the point yesterday at the DHL fleet event that if you can argue anything, it's about EV transition is good for clean air.
Yeah, absolutely. A basic human right. And Amy was fantastic on the Liz Allen podcast, I have to say. One of the best I've heard her do.
Yeah, it's great. Loved it. Really loved it.
Let's move on. The new European Commission has committed to phase out fossil fuel subsidies and ensure a just green transition. Now, it has to deliver on this promise, says the Green Group, Transport and Environment. In the 5 biggest EU countries alone, subsidies for petrol and diesel company cars cost taxpayers 42 billion euros every year. Italy, followed by Germany. Well, that sounds interesting. Italy, followed by Germany, France, and Poland are the countries that subsidise polluting companies' cars the most, totalling 16 million euros, 13.7 million euros, 6.4 million euros, and 6.1 billion euros. All those numbers should be billion, not million, a year, respectively. The biggest subsidy happens via benefit in kind schemes that continue to incentivise petrol and diesel vehicles. Tax advantages for polluting company cars in the UK are much lower. Indeed, the UK imposes a strong penalty for petrol and diesel company cars through a high benefit in kind rate, whilst electric company car drivers pay lower taxes. This has helped to boost the uptake of electric company cars, which is now at 21.5%. And it's right, Sam, isn't it, that government needs to use some very complex levers to encourage and sometimes cajole and sometimes make it financially difficult to do the right thing or the wrong thing.
Yeah, indeed, John. And I don't know much about this news article, but what I have listened to you just now, I noticed that you said it was Italy, Germany, France, and Poland. And I'm going to take it that that's probably where some of the largest major OEM manufacturers are in Europe.
Indeed.
So it's curious, isn't it, that those incentives to subsidise on petrol and diesel are coming from those with the largest economic influence on ICE production. So there's got to be a trend there, isn't there, in regards to those two things? I would imagine.
I think so. We spoke last week about the budget and the £2 billion that's being given in support to the automotive sector in the UK, and it's going to electric vehicles and building the infrastructure that we need to deliver better electric vehicles in this country. That's a great sign, Paul, isn't it? In terms of van production, electric van production, we've got Stellantis, I guess. Anybody else?
It's actually a really good question. I don't know what else gets built here, but I think there are 4 companies. We saw this yesterday with Mike Halls presenting to us from the SMMT at the DHL event that Sarah and I were at. But there is 4 production facilities, and I'm sure Nissan produced some of their vehicles here, as well as the Stellantis group up in Ellesmere Port, and I think down in Luton. So there's certainly a lot of activity going on, but of course vans don't get these benefits. We do get 120 million from the grants, which is probably 5% of that 2 billion, or even less. But what I find also interesting is that we are still putting the fuel duty freeze on the UK markets, and so we are sort of subsidising fossil fuels in that respect, because we're not taxing it in the way that we used to. And I understand why, and there are reasons. The economy has got to sort of balance its books, but it does feel it's sort of a backdoor kind of support for fossil fuel vehicles.
But being not purist, Sarah, I guess that if we didn't freeze fossil fuel duty, inflation would rise, and that's the last thing the government needs right now. We need to boost our economy and try to drive growth rather than put sustainability absolutely first.
I know what you mean.
This is about sustainable economic growth.
It certainly is. It was lovely to listen to Mike Halls yesterday. He's a fantastic presenter, number 1. He's also got his OBE announced, which he collects on Tuesday, number 2. So they're releasing papers all the time, the SMMT, helping us to understand the complexities of this economic balance. But what I do appreciate is the word on the street. People call me. Don't know if anybody else gets these phone calls, but I get these phone calls quite often. I had one that lasted 36 minutes ranting about how abhorrent the government is trying to destroy their petrol and diesel and limit their mobility, and how rubbish EV is, and how town planning's got a lot to answer for, making it difficult for cities to move, live and breathe. And I'm like, do you really think that? That's your life right now. So even if you've chucked a subsidy at that person or sort of made it worse for them, they would never, ever, ever want to go EV. So I think there's a lot to go the hearts and minds gap at the moment. It's a lot about fiscal stimulus, a lot about production, a lot about choice. What about how people feel about it? I think that might be the missing link at the moment.
It's lovely to think that Sarah will listen for 36 minutes to somebody ranting and raving
I
at
was
them.
like, this is fascinating. Fascinating to me that you feel so strongly that somebody's trying to make your life harder. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. You'd get 3.6 seconds from me and it would be, yeah, absolutely right. Bye.
I just thought it was going to go somewhere. I thought I could learn something from this person, but I didn't.
You're a marvel. You really are. Right, let's do some shout outs.
And if
John.
you're listening, shut up.
Yes, Sam, sorry.
Apparently, there is only one van that has the built-in Britain badge on her, and that is not the Ford Transit, but the Vauxhall Vivaro.
Oh, really? Oh,
Wow.
cool. Again, yeah.
So we were right, Paul. Stellantis all the way. There you go. Right. Okay. Let's do some shout outs. Thank you for the facts, Sam, as always. Carl Elliott, 7 o'clock this morning. Carl, your alarm clock's broken, mate. Definitely.
What do you do? Just click in and just wait.
Yeah.
And mate, yeah,
Time zone.
and that's
Time
from
zone.
YouTube. Brilliant. 10 out of 10 Saturday Eve. Daryl Sharp, 909. What was wrong with you this morning? The only way to kick off and to start the weekend, Scott Eady's right, your weekend starts at 10 a.m. on a Friday. EV Beano, Ron Godfrey, weather.
What's up?
Economy Trucks, morning all, happy Friday.
Oh, yay.
Russ Morgan, oh dear, 6 minutes to go and he's had 2 coffees in. That boy going to be buzzing. We've got the LinkedIn user, that is Peter Heath. He's got nice
teeth.
How's your toothache, mate? I hope you're all right. Harpoon Singh, lovely to see you from cloudy Brighton. Mark Elliott, Michael Barton, congratulations on your job, my friend.
Yay,
So pleased for you. He's
Zap
going to
Map.
work for ZapMap. Yep, indeedy. Ash Bannister, old Two Mugs himself is in the house. Belinda Guy. Hang on. He's here. It's Daily Electric Vehicle. Dev Chakravarti in the house. Mark Main, good morning, my people. Good morning, sir. Lovely to see you. Rob Dustin. Danita Brewer. Oh, isn't she a fabo? We need to speak to Danita. Heather Kennedy. Heather, hello. Lloyd Allen, he's back in Bristol. We're tracking you, my friend. Anthony Boyd. Good morning. Yes, it is always too early to say that there's only 6 Fridays left until Christmas. Unspeakable Wretch. Shane Reese, hello, my friend. Good to see you. Leon Gomez, you've been busy this week. Hannah Brooks, great to see you from Utilitaries. Leon Gomez, he's already had a mention, so I'll shut up. Matthew Ling from Suffolk, hello, mate. John Jesson, again from Bristol. We're popular. Sam, you're big in Bristol, mate. That's what I'm saying. Mark Sherry Brennan, good morning. Lucy Albury, hello. Now then, Peter Heath, I think, lived by the South Circular in Lewisham for about 10 years. He was your nearest neighbour, Sam, by the sound of things. Jordan Marsden, hello. Oh, my lordy lord, Tom, the legend that is Middleditch. Morning, lovely people.
There he is.
He claims to have been here on time. Took till
Nah,
10:16
not
to
sure.
say hello. We're not taking any of that. Peter Heath's teeth are all right on a Saturday night. It's right for fighting. Let's move on with EV charging solutions provider Spirit has teamed up with charging manufacturer Zaptec to develop a new algorithm to improve energy and cost efficiency. The Power Delta algorithm enables chargers to transmit meter data only when deviations in power supply occur, as opposed to sending data updates every second, which has previously been standard industry procedure. This move reduces the volume of data transmitted, helping data centers cut unnecessary power consumption associated with data sharing and minimizing the transfer of large data volumes between systems. I'll give you an example. If a charging station delivers 11 kilowatts, the data updates will only be triggered by significant changes such as a deviation of 100 watts or so, rather than transmitting the same meter readings every second. And during an 8-hour overnight charge, this adjustment can reduce 30,000 lines of information going into a system to just 100, representing a data processing reduction of 99%. And so what, you say? Well, it means that they use less power, less water in data centers to keep them cool. This is brilliant. And the devil, Sam, is in the detail here, isn't it? It's we look at Sperry and we say, great piece of software. But actually, when you start to fine tune some of the capability of this stuff, it's brilliant.
It is. That's actually super, super clever. I've never heard that before, and it's bloody brilliant, actually, in terms of the way in which we can get more efficient with our data and what the knock-on effects. A bit like when we were talking about, offsetting tax duties on vehicles and offsetting that against NHS health costs. There are are things that link to other things, and it's really important to join those things together. And being efficient with data is a really good one. I was presenting at the motor transport event yesterday, talking all about my history with smart charging and dumb charging and plug sockets on the wall and all the stuff that we came up with in terms of being more intelligent. Got nowhere near this level of detail though, because this is another level, and we indeed were. I had 150 chargers all collecting data every single second, every single day, or all night. And it would have been terabytes of information, I suspect, over time. And this just demonstrates that could have been completely removed because in my scenario and many like it, you don't need second by second data because it's a far more lumpy charging process that happens, particularly on the AC side. So yeah, really innovative, really clever, really good.
Yeah.
Well thought.
Now, the 20th of November, Sarah, we're going to be talking about data in more detail, aren't we? Data to Insights is our webinar. Tell us more.
Yes, although I hope I can join. I was due to go to Norway to talk about exactly this, actually, this sort of thing. But I'm hoping to be there. I'm looking forward to it. I put the link on my LinkedIn, so please do sign up. And also, are you doing us a cheeky video? We just sent you some clips to tell people
Already
how
done
to
it.
sign up. Oh,
Out
amazing.
yesterday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But yes, as I will hopefully be there, I'd rather that you tell us who are our guests.
Pablo.
I did actually say that. I know it's All Star. It's oh gosh.
Oh dear Lord! Now
can't-
we begin to see it, don't we?
It's All Star Webfleet and
yes, right. So we've got James O'Dell from Webfleet. We have the wonderful Angus Webb with the great haircut from Dynamon, and
it's James, isn't it? Isn't it James? James Slatter.
it's not James Slatter, it's
Oh,
Angus
is it?
Webb.
Okay.
And Tom Rowlands, the managing director of All Star, is going to be our guest, which is a huge privilege and honour. So really looking forward to that. And right, shall we move on? Fresh Analysis aims to tackle the myths around electric vehicles and reveals that demand across the EU and UK is strong and likely to grow. The study also shows that vehicle manufacturers' economic contributions is much greater in a faster EV transition, which therefore refutes the call for a slowdown in targets. Analysis by CBI Economics, commissioned by the Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit, revealed the UK's car industry is dependent on it making a rapid and successful transition to building the electric cars of the future. At present, the automotive sector contributes £46.8 billion to the UK's economy and supports over 552,000 full-time equivalent jobs. Under a best EV scenario, these economic contributions could increase by 35% or another 16.1 billion, with an additional 167,000 jobs. We spoke earlier, Paul, about the need to get behind electric vehicles for a whole host of reasons. Surely economic growth of sustainable jobs has to be primary out there.
Absolutely, and I think Sam hit the nail on the head earlier when saying that the links between all of the different pieces that are in the jigsaw are often missed, and we see here again that this significant sector, a sector that irritatingly, whenever I want to put my sector in as a SIC code or something, that there isn't one for automotive. Did you know that? You can't. They'd never put the automotive sector. It's like it's huge.
Yeah.
Exemplified here, and we need to kind of really join the dots and show the economic value of all of the different levers that we pull, reducing the power intake on data centers, the uplift in green jobs, and probably the localization of those jobs as well, especially around green energy. It could be really exciting.
Absolutely. Now then, Sam, Shane Rees asks, any of the EV Café people coming to Transport and Energy Forum in 2 weeks' time? Are you going?
Don't know.
Oh,
Don't know yet.
I
Go on,
can't,
Sarah.
unfortunately.
I was absolutely desperate to come. And in fact, that first story that we had was there wasn't a dry eye in the house last year watching that story unfold on stage about the so Alec Peachy, friend of the EV Café, fantastic writer. We always try to support this event. Pay-through can't go, I can't go. So what we're going to do is make sure that the word is spread loud and clear out there that do go along if you can. I learned a lot last year. And then they have the awards straight after, I think. So, get in touch with him if you're still looking for tickets. I think they're nearly sold out, but there is still time.
Yeah, absolutely. A brilliant forum with some fantastic guests. Do get along to Transport and Energy and their forum in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks for raising that one. Shane, final story. Oh, nice ceramic brake squeal there, Sarah.
Did you hear that?
Carbon ceramics. Ouch. Right. Anyway, Stagecoach has announced that free travel will be available on all of its bus services across the UK for serving military, cadets and veterans on the 10th and 11th of November 2024 in honour of Remembrance Weekend. The offer applies to any serving personnel or cadet in uniform, those with a military ID card, and veterans wearing medals or veterans badges attending remembrance services. Additionally, some Stagecoach fleets will be proudly decorated with poppy graphics as a symbol of remembrance and respect. And destination screens on buses will display messages of support in tribute to the armed forces. For me, this is sustainability and responsibility in action. Because a lot of our veterans wouldn't be able to get to these events without support of their local bus networks. And to do that free on that day is a huge mark of respect. I'd like to give personal thanks to all of our service personnel for their service and to bus companies for ensuring that our veterans and young people can pay their respects. Over this weekend, Sam, what are you up to? You doing anything interesting?
I don't know yet, John, but I would like to just also put a nod out to this article, and well done to Stagecoach. And actually, I'd challenge everybody else within the transport sector to do the same on this weekend every single year, because why wouldn't you? It's an absolute right thing to do. These people, these veterans need to get where they need to be to celebrate, all the hard work that keeps our country safe. So Stagecoach, well done, massive hat tip. But what about the rest of the industry that should be doing the same thing?
Yeah. All about the just transition and making sure that everybody gets the benefit of the better transport systems that we all fight for. Paul, your weekend, anything?
I was just going to comment. Sarah's actually opposite the pit lane, so it's a bit difficult for her with all that noise in the background.
It's not difficult. I'm having a very nice time.
Isn't that the weird thing?
Sorry, it's difficult for us.
Back to Paul. Sorry.
Isn't that the weird thing? We're all fundamentally, we have a head-turning moment when you hear a massive engine roaring along. And that's one of the things that many EV people miss, is that burst of sound.
It's just different. I've often said before, I love things like motor racing. I just really enjoy being here. It's exciting. But that's the thing I like to say to people is, I'm not asking you to give up your hobby, your passion, your love. I'm asking you to stop driving your car into a city centre. There's a big difference. So I actually would far rather we channel every bit of fuel into something exciting, liberating, inspiring, scientific, progressive as this. I'm having a great time. But I want to say about the veterans thing, because somebody said to me, that's stupid. Old people get free tickets on buses anyway. Stagecoach are just trying to do a PR stunt. I'm like, I'm sorry. Veterans are anybody, anywhere.
Send it.
Who have served in our wars. So yeah.
And you have to apply for. You have to apply for a bus pass. This is the other thing,
Yeah.
that when you get to a certain age, you qualify, but you have to apply. Not everybody does. And so many veterans do not have a bus pass and are able to use that service on that day, irrespective of whether they have or not. And I think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Paul.
Also, buses are
Well, I was
amazing.
gonna-
You've got to say how good buses are, Paul. Go for it.
Oh, I'm not going to say how good buses are, just to be annoying. But I think what we do on New Year's Eve is make the whole of the public transport in London free, right? Just so people can move about and do all of that sort of stuff. This is exactly the right kind of initiative that we should do across the country to enable people, young and old, because I think it's really important. There are a lot of cadets. They mentioned cadets there. My sons, both Joel and Jaden, Jaden in the future, but Joel right now, are serving. And if they're at home at the weekend, they can get out and go and do that sort of thing. And they want to and do support it. So it is brilliant that buses are a great tool. 50% of buses we saw, almost 50% of buses sold in the last year have been electric. And we do see that they are really cleaning up the environment because of the predictable routes and everything like that. So Go on, Saz. There you go. Shout out
Great
the buses.
fact.
They're
I
brilliant.
didn't know that. I also don't think people realise there's Wi-Fi on buses. They're often lovely leather seats, not those dusty ones that you pat and a big puff of dust comes up like I used to have to get to school. And they've always got USB or even 3-pin charging these days, and a couple of quid to about 10 miles I'm in.
And those leather seats are wipe cleanable. Okay, 3 last comments. Hey, listen, when you get to my age, anything's possible. Russ Morgan, thank you. We'll give you a shout out because you have put into the comments the web address for Rosamund's website, ellaroberta.org. So if you want to go and find out more about the case of Ella, do go to ellaroberta.org. Dev Chakravarti, as someone who's had Astons and a V6 Jag in the past, I miss the sound. But everything else is better in an EV. Dirty boy. And motor racing is potentially a good use case for e-fuels, especially to keep old classics running. This old classic is about to bog off because I'm in Lanzarote and there's a swimming pool out there. But if you've got any clean transport PR or news stories you'd like us to cover, please send them to us at hello@evcafe.org. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me. It is goodbye from my good friends at the EV Cafe, Sam, Paul and Sarah. This has been an EV Cafe production. Other sustainability news services are available, but this is just fodder! The EV Cafe is truly blessed to be partnered with the AA, Webfleet, Europcar, Iveco, Drax Electric Vehicles, Spiri, Stuart Science, Hydrock, Allstar, Schneider Electric, and Dynamon. We're the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to clean transport. Bless you for being here. It really means the world. Enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend, or wherever it takes you. Until next Friday. Bye.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Thank you. Enjoy the pool, John Curtis. You were